Today, I am joined by Judy Hoberman, who is a coach, author, and mentor, and she is here to talk to us all about self-discipline. Good morning, Judy.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good and excited to be here.
Good. We are so happy to have you. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. I'm loving it.
Perfect. Just right before we get started, I always do like to thank our viewers for joining us each and every week. It's because of you, your views, your comments, your shares, your interactions that we're able to continue to provide these broadcasts on a weekly basis. Just as a small reminder, every Friday we have Fun Fact Friday, where we talk about a system that could be beneficial to you. This week we're talking about KV Core integration with Zapier, so you may want to tune into that. It's a little follow-up from last week's Friday broadcast. But for now, we are joined by Judy, and today's topic is successful people are self-disciplined. So Judy, do you want to introduce yourself to start?
Sure. So as Tori said, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker, I'm a trainer, I'm a radio show host, and I'm an author. And my focus is really about leadership and sales. And you can't have sales without being a leader, and you can't be a leader without having sales. And whether you're a leader of one or a leader of thousands, you're still a leader. People look to you, they're influenced by you. And that's my goal, is to give people the space that they need and the voices that they need. And I talk about women in leadership, but I also talk about the men that champion them. So I never leave anybody out. I've got everybody covered. And that's who I am.
Perfect. Well, thank you once again for being here. And like I said, today we're talking about self-discipline. So do you want to just start out by talking, what is self-discipline?
Well, when you are in real estate or insurance or any kind of industry, you have to be self-disciplined, because you're not working 8 to 5 like you and I just talked about, Tori. Mm-hmm. You're working more about the hours that your clients are working. So you have to be self-disciplined, because it's very easy to just say, well, I'm not, I'm tired, I'm not going to do this. But self-discipline becomes a habit. If you create a habit, you're going to do something every single day. For instance, I post every single morning before 7 a.m. on all social media platforms. And you can go and you can watch me every single morning. And if I'm not there at 7, it's because I'm sick. That's the only reason. So I've created a habit because I want to get a message out every single day. It's a habit. It takes 28 days to create a habit and 28 seconds to break one. It's also a practice. What are you doing to create the discipline that you need? So it's not just only creating the habit, but what practice are you putting in place? A lot of times I'll tell people that I don't allow myself, because I'm my own police, I don't allow myself to get on the computer until after I've been on the treadmill. Mm-hmm. So that's the practice that I've put into place. It's also a type of a philosophy. You have to create something in your head where your mindset says, okay, so to be self-disciplined, I have to put my mindset in that position, because otherwise I can be all over the place and nothing's going to matter. And it's a way of life. For me, being disciplined is the way that I live my life. Does it mean that I'm 100% structured? No. Does it mean that I don't like change? Well, kind of. But it's also the way of life. I know, being in sales for a million years, it feels like, but it's really probably 3 decades. I was a single mom. I had to make sure that the way I lived my life was going to be conducive to how my children needed to be brought up. So every day I had a practice. Every day I created the philosophy, and every day I lived my life as if I couldn't change too much, because otherwise you change everything in your life. So you have to become self-disciplined.
So self-discipline, it's almost one of those things for people, it's easier said than done.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Definitely. So that's what brings us to our next question. What steps can an individual take to start developing that self-discipline that we just talked about?
Okay, so you can't jump in and say, okay, I'm self-disciplined. It doesn't work like that. And so, like, if anything else, you have to take baby steps. I would bet that every single person that is selling real estate, whether you're selling a tiny little house or a gigantic estate, you didn't just jump in and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. You had to take baby steps. You had to learn what you're doing. You had to learn the market. You had to learn the neighborhood. You had to learn about the schools. So you take little baby steps. Whatever you really feel you need to be disciplined, take the baby steps to getting there, because every little step takes you to the next bigger step. So that's the first thing I would tell you. Then also find something that motivates you. What is it that you need to do that motivates you? So for me, one of the things that made me disciplined was I put together a game in my head. And I'm all about games, and I'm all about doing things and making them easy, because if it's hard for me, I can't do it. So I would have my what I called my 100-point system every single day that motivated me to create the activity I needed to create the appointments, to create the sales. And I'll talk about that later if you want. But so I had to create something that motivated me. I also made it a routine. You know, every day I would get up, and every day I would have my routine. You know, I would get up, like I said, I would be on my treadmill, and I would have everything ready from the night before in order for me to be ready to go, because it was a routine. Remember, I had 2 kids I had to get out the door. I didn't have time to do dishes in the morning. They had to be done at night. I didn't have time to make lunches in the morning. It had to be done at night. I had to spend quality time with my kids in the morning. So it had to become part of my routine. But here's a big one, and this big one is, and I'm going to say it's more for women than it is for men. You have to learn to say no. Easy. Say no. And to me, I say no because if I say no to this, I can say yes to this. When you say yes to everything, you say no to mostly everything. So I decide what's involved in my life that's important to me and what I can say no to. So if you don't say no, you're not going to be disciplined. You're going to be here, 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 and here. And, you know, a lot of people, they say a lot of successful people, if you look at the background, it came from playing sports. So there's another thing about self-discipline. You played sports because you were a team player. Even if you're a golfer and you played by yourself, you still have to have that discipline. Now, I did not grow up in an era where girls played sports. Our sport was dance. I mean, that's what our sport was. But I know from my daughter who played field hockey and my son who played soccer, they were very disciplined. People do a lot of martial arts. It's very disciplined. So that might get somebody going, you know, just to take a couple of classes or something. And the other part is just visualize what you want to see happen. When you visualize it, it will happen. So, you know, a lot of people use vision boards. They put the giant house or the car or whatever it is on your board, and that's what you reach towards. And then finally, find something that inspires you, or find someone that inspires you. Now you have access to a million podcasts. You can watch, you can listen, you can do whatever you want, and you find somebody that inspires you. I personally have a celebrity crush on Brene Brown. I would do anything just to listen to her. She cracks me up because she's funny, but she's really right in your face. And that's what I need. So she inspires me. So I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that part of my routine is to find something that Brene Brown is doing. So just a couple of steps here and there.
It sounds like the word we're going to use a lot today is not only self-discipline, because that's what the topic is, but it almost sounds like habits. You get into those habits, and that's what helps create that self-discipline.
Absolutely. You're right, because that's what it is. When you create the habit, then you're becoming disciplined. It's the same. It's one and the same. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So on that topic, what kind of habits can you create to help you get the self-discipline results that you're looking for?
Well, you know, it depends on really what you're looking for. One of the habits that I think everybody should get involved in is gratitude. You have to become grateful for the things that you have and the things that you are striving towards. But think about the things that you have that you take for granted. Okay, show some gratitude. And it could be in almost any kind of fashion. Like for me, I like to give a compliment. To me, there's a lot of people in this world that don't ever receive a kind word. So every single day I find someone that I don't know and I say something kind to them. And the reaction that I get is always kind of, sometimes it's unnerving. Sometimes they look at you like, me? You know, I'll say something like, oh, Tori, I love that sweater on you. And, you know, I'll get the look of like deer in headlights, or they'll go, thank you. Or they say absolutely nothing. And to me, that just shows that there's people that need to hear something kind. So give back something. That's, to me, is gratitude. You can also talk about creating the habit that you need. It's usually about what we're doing already is habitual. Everything we do, you do things without even thinking about it. When you're driving, you see a red light, you don't think, oh, a red light means stop. You just stop, okay? When you get in the car, you put a seatbelt on. You do things by habit. 45% of everything we do is by habit. So those are some of the things that you can create to, you know, create something so it becomes as second nature as that. You can also decide that one of the things you want to create is time management. One of the biggest things about time management is don't think that there's work-life balance. There is no such thing. So time management is really being present with where you are. Have harmony where you are. And when you are present where you are, there you're talking about being self-disciplined. There you're talking about being present. There you're talking about giving somebody your time, which is your biggest gift that you give anybody in the entire world. So it's all those kind of things that you can start with and you can create a habit with.
Mm-hmm. I never thought about gratitude as like in the sense of a habit, but it completely makes sense the way you explained it, just giving that a compliment a day to someone, just kind of making someone's day in that sense.
Yeah, a lot of people think that when you do gratitude, you have to give money, you have to, buy somebody coffee, and that's always lovely, but it doesn't even have to be that. All it is just create the habit of doing something nice every single day and watch what happens to your life. Just watch what opportunities appear. You don't know who you're saying that to. There was a woman that I complimented her on her sweater. It was a beautiful shade of purple, and she did not respond whatsoever. And I thought, okay, she's probably not gotten a compliment in a long time. And a few months later, I got a request on my website. I'm not even sure how she found me or anything. And all she said was, thank you. That sweater was a gift, and I didn't even know how to say thank you. That's all I got.
Aww.
Right? Now, I don't know if she was listening to the conversation with the person next to me about what we were talking about my business, my website, but she clearly heard who I was. And I just got a simple thank you. So what happened that one day for that 1 second made a big difference in her life.
And that was a few months later that she reached out to you. That's amazing. Yeah. She was thinking about that months after it happened.
Yeah.
It happened. The time to actually go on the internet and find you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. That probably felt so good. That's a good habit to get into.
Absolutely. And I think it's even better because a lot of the millennials today are more inclined to find businesses and companies and people that they want to do business with when they're involved in a social cause. We see this all the time. So if you started to create this movement of gratitude, I mean, how many people do you think would get involved? Everyone, just about everybody, because everybody can be grateful for something. And it doesn't have to be just November and December either.
Yeah, when we mostly think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And how can an individual strengthen their self-discipline?
Well, first of all, you have to decide what you want to be disciplined about, okay? So one of the things I find a lot of times is that people react without thinking, okay? They're just very rash in what they're thinking. Think about social media, for instance. Somebody posts something, and instead of even asking what that meant, there is like this horrible conversation going on, okay? So instead of acting rashly, why don't you just take a step back and think about, okay, so maybe that's not what it meant, or maybe that's not who it is, or whatever it is, and just take a deep breath and have a conversation with somebody instead of like jumping to conclusions. You might walk up to somebody who's supposed to have an appointment with you to look at a house, and they show up in, raggy clothes and flip-flops, and they haven't shaved in a month or whatever, and you're thinking like, this is not going to happen, and I'm wasting my time, and you've already prejudged someone, and so on and so forth. Little do you know that the guy is an IT guru who's a gazillionaire, and that's how he dresses. So you have to like take a step back for a moment and say, okay, let me get the whole story, because there's always a story behind a story. So the other thing you could do is when you tell a client, I'm going to do this, you do it. Okay? Because whatever you promise them is a pretest. Think about this. You go to a networking event, you meet someone, and they could be a potential client for you, maybe buying a house, selling a house, listing a house, whatever it is. And you say to them, I'm going to send you information tonight. So what time is tonight? Well, it could be 5 o'clock, it could be midnight, but for me, tonight would be midnight. So by midnight tonight, I better get something out. So the next morning, when this person looks and sees the email isn't there, they're thinking, she could not even send me what she promised me. I'm not doing business with her. So don't overpromise and underdeliver. Do exactly the opposite. Whatever you say you're going to do, your word is your bond. And so you have to make sure that, excuse me, whatever it is what you're going to be doing. And then also you want to make sure that whatever you've started, you finish. you and I were just talking about having a separate environment to do your business. Okay. And what happens is when you're involved in all of your stuff and it's on the dining room table, and then your family comes home and you can't really finish and it's put aside, but it really needs to get finished, you never finish anything. So you have to make a determination that I'm going to stop working at 5 o'clock. So by 5 o'clock, I have to have all this finished. So to be self-disciplined, finish what you start, don't overpromise and underdeliver, and also make sure that you can, control your personality and your temper.
When you just say things that someone says something, I think when you say things, it's called like word vomit, I think is what people say.
There you go.
Yeah.
Somebody had done something yesterday, and it involved me, not 100%, but close enough that it affected me. And I didn't like what he did. And so I'm originally from New York. And so I could feel my New York coming up.
Uh-oh.
And my New York doesn't come up often. But when it does come up, I learned that not everybody is comfortable with that. So I took a deep breath and I said, okay, so what should I do? Because that really bothered me. So what I did was, I call it my coachable moment. And I reached out to him and I said, I want to share this with you because it made me very uncomfortable. And here's why. And I told him, and he said, I really appreciate you telling me, but I appreciate it more that you did it privately and not on social media. Because his was on social media.
Okay.
So, and so we resolved it. And so to me, it was a big learning moment for him. He took it however he took it, but it didn't backfire. So I controlled myself. I was self-disciplined in the moment. Of course, my brain was going crazy, but it worked out the right way.
That's perfect. That sounds like everything that you just said. I mean, of course, is going to lead to the self-discipline, but I like the needing to control yourself. Everyone has those moments where you just kind of lash out and you don't need to. So the self-control is a big one. And I think everyone can really learn from that and take that into consideration every day.
Well, I'll tell you, here's the other thing. When I moved to Dallas, I thought immediately I was going to find a house because there's a million houses here. I mean, whatever. And I was a relo. So you don't choose an agent. You're given an agent. And this agent never asked who I was, what my family looked like, nothing. All he knew was that I came from the Northeast. Now, when you come from the North to the South, it's a very big difference in the real estate market. You get a lot more in the South for your dollar than you do in the North. So he knew what I wanted to spend, and he was showing me houses that were 8,000 and 10,000 square feet. It was me at the time. I wasn't married at the time. My children were grown. And I kept saying to him, this is way too big. He goes, oh, honey, it's bigger in Texas. This is how we started it. And so each time it got worse. And I kept saying to him, it's just me. He said, yeah, but you need a media room and you need this and you need that. At one point he called me and he said, there's a new house I want you to see. I said, well, I like it. He said, probably not, but it's new. Okay, so there was a waste of my time. I kept saying to myself, don't go there because you have no option. He is the only option you have because you're a reload. And I kept saying to him, please just let me tell you who I am and let me tell you what I need. Should I tell you how many houses I saw until I bought one?
Can I guess?
Go for it.
I'm going to say 15.
Oh, I would have loved 15.
More.
100.
Oh my gosh.
There's no reason why any realtor should show 100 houses, and there's no reason why any client should look at 100 houses. Oh. And the point is, not only was there no communication, there was no self-discipline on his part whatsoever. He was just showing things, and he was doing that major, vomit on the plate. Okay? Oh, this house, when I walked into it, I knew it was my house, but it was number 100. Number 100. So, to grow in your business, to build your business, to be successful in your business, you have to have some kind of discipline. The discipline is not to show everything without knowing anything about your person. And I mean, clearly he was not the right kind of person, but he was after making money, but he was losing money by showing 100 houses.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that hopefully taught him some self-discipline. I don't know if he learned anything from that or if you ever talked to him afterwards, but that takes a lot of self-discipline on your end as well to just kind of
Yeah.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah. Well, because it didn't make sense to me. So I was going to lose no matter what.
True. So kudos to you, though.
Well, he's no longer in the business. Imagine that.
I wonder why. And what are the benefits? So we've talked about so much stuff about self-discipline, but what are truly the benefits of having self-discipline?
Well, if you were self-disciplined and you got things done and you were successful, I would say that the number one benefit is being confident. Because when you've got everything the way you like it, if you have everything the way you want it, if you have things lined up that every day you're doing something to increase your business and to influence others and to be a leader in the industry itself, you have to be more confident. That's the most important quality that you're going to get from it. And with that, because you're so disciplined, you have to be more productive. So being more productive brings in more activity, brings in more sales, and your income goes up. So that's the other part. And you also have a better lifestyle because remember, you knew what you wanted to do and you had your habits, you were self-disciplined, and you achieved what you were looking forward to. And you were more efficient. I mean, for me, if I had to, do mundane things every single day that weren't getting me anywhere, I would not be efficient or effective. So I like to be confident. I like to be productive. I don't like to be frustrated. And when you don't have any kind of system in place, you're always frustrated. You're always throwing your hands up saying, who am I going to call today? Or where am I going to go today? I was always, when I was ready to work, I was ready to work. I had my list. I had my people. I had their names. I had, all the stuff. I was ready. I wasn't ready to get ready. I was ready. And so, being self-disciplined just gives you that system in place that you're able to do the things you need to do in order to get to the place you want to be.
Perfect. Well, you've shared a lot of great information, things that I'm definitely going to take with me and think about throughout the day. And hopefully our viewers will be able to as well. Where can people find you? And tell us a little bit about your company and whatnot.
So first, you can find me all over social media. I'm on LinkedIn at Judy Hoberman. Everywhere else, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I'm either Judy Hoberman or Selling in a Skirt. I do a radio show on Mondays at noon Central. If you're connected with me at any point, you'll see everything that I start to post on Fridays for a Monday show. The show is live. You can call in, and then it goes right onto iHeart under Selling in a Skirt. I do a lot of executive coaching. I do a lot of helping people get to that next level, whether it's women in leadership or whether it's, being, a new agent to a veteran agent, how all the steps in between. I do a lot of training in the real estate market, and I love what I do. I love what I do, and I love to watch people grow, and I love to see that light bulb when people go, oh, is that it? That's so easy. I make things easy.
Well, you can definitely tell that you love what you do, and we appreciate you being here. You can find all of Judy's information in the description of this video. We have her link to her website, her LinkedIn, as she spoke about, her Facebook. You can go to her Selling in a Skirt, and I'm sure you can access the podcast that way through your website. Perfect. If you're interested in listening to Judy more, I highly recommend it. You can find her podcast on Selling in a Skirt on iHeart. But thank you so much for being here, and hopefully we will see you back again soon. We'd love to have you back again, a little bit more motivation. So,
all right, anytime.
Yeah, next week's topic, if you're able to join us next week, we will be talking about 5 ways to use a Facebook pixel in your 2019 marketing plan. So it's all about, you see that pair of shoes, you Google that pair of shoes, and now that pair of shoes is everywhere, all over your Facebook. So we're going to teach you how to do that, and that is going to be with Eric Hammond. But for now, thank you again so much, Judy, and I hope everyone has a great day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.